Welcome back to our fifth podcast. We took last week off. It was just a little bit crazy, and wanted to make sure we had appropriate time to spend on some really quality guests. And we have that this week. Andy Heck, who is the co-owner and president of Alpin Haus RV in Amsterdam, New York. Amazing facility. It is almost 80,000 square feet of just some incredible products. Andy is a man that I've gotten to know a little bit through our entrepreneurs organization, and he has taken one of his core values at the business, which is fun. He sells fun, and he lives that life. He puts fun into his life every day. He schedules things, including his fun. He's got scheduled out through 2020. I've never met anyone who's scheduled out beyond the next 2 weeks, so this was a real treat. And I left the podcast with him, and he gave me this book. It's called It All Matters, and a book, hopefully, that I will take advantage of this weekend to find out more about goal setting and how Andy achieves his goals. He's one of the great people I've met through Entrepreneurs Organization. I hope you enjoy our conversation with Andy Heck from Alpin Haus. All right, we're hanging out today with Andy Heck, who is the owner of Alpin Haus RV. We're in Amsterdam, New York, and great treat to have you. I'm so grateful that you agreed to come and hang out with us here for a little while and talk about...
Yeah, glad you came out.
How could I not come out? When I saw you were going to Prague a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, here's a guy who I would like to follow in his footsteps. He's living the entrepreneurial life. And that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about.
Sure.
Our conversation earlier, you've been in EO now for 10 years.
10 years.
Why did you join?
I joined... my friend Dave Wojcicki, who I worked with way back in the day at Ernst & Young, had thought it would be a great fit for me to get in. And so when I heard about what EO was for, obviously, just like you, when you join, you don't know the whole picture of what it is. But when I thought, hey, I'm going to be around other business leaders, there's learning components. And so I was intrigued, and I was like, yeah, I'm all in. And, the rest is history.
A year ago, Andre Crisafulli had invited me and said, look, you got to come. You're at the right place now to come into this and really get value out of it. And I went to the Averys and Leon, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Logothesis,
right,
who had the Netflix show. And I was so blown away that day and open to the ideas that were being presented. Man, this is pretty cool. And I was talking to Tammy, and I talked to Andrea some more. And the big thing for me, one of my core values is learning and getting better. And I've always gotten that sense from you that that's pretty important to you too.
Absolutely. I love learning. So whether it's going to, like you said, going to these events, I think of the events over the years that I've been to. I mean, it's some of them just been mind blowing. There's always something you can learn, but especially in the diverse business we're in, there's so many that have just spoke to my language that I've come out of these events, come back and implemented stuff, but then I've actually hired some of these speakers that have come in to work with our team after the fact, and have made some sustainable changes in our business because of these.
And who was the most important to you? Who would you say, man, that one really connected? And
well, I've got a couple of stories on that. I think when I go back years ago to one of the early nerves that I went to way back in New York City, I think it was probably 2011. And my forum buddy said, hey, you got to go see this speaker on sales. At the time, I was following a track. I wanted some marketing ideas. And I'm like, nah, we already got sales training. And no, you got to go see this guy. So the guy ended up being Jack Daly. And so when he talked on sales, his core values and what he taught in sales resonated exactly with what we did. But then I found out at the end, he talks about life lessons learned from doing Ironman. And I was just starting my process of doing Ironman. I'm like, oh my God, this guy, he's doing endurance events, he's doing sales, he's a goal setter, he spoke my language. So I saw Jack speak several times over the years, different nerves, and then became friends with him, and now I've done some marathons with him. I was out in the Grand Canyon with Jack, and I've had him come out and work with our team. I've sent my team to some of his sales workshops, so he's had a great impact on my life, both personally and professionally.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's opened doors and relationships, as far as I'm concerned, that I didn't expect. You get surrounded with people that are not always resonating, as you talk about, at the same frequency. But with EO, I found, gosh, just about everybody
Exactly. And then I remember, talk about learning. So, we're big on customer service. One of the things that I continue to push with our team is customer service. So a book came out a few years ago, The Customer Service Revolution by John DeJulius. And I ordered it right away from Amazon, read it. And next thing you know, I get the agenda for NERV in Nashville, and John's one of the speakers. I'm like, oh my God, I've read his book and I was going to be a speaker. So I'm like, I was so excited. Got to meet John at that conference. Not much happened, from it, but I implemented a couple of things from the book. Then, lo and behold, we hired the Albany chapter hires John to come in for the day. And I went to the session with all the EO members. And then in the afternoon, we were able to bring our teams. And our team's like, wow, this is fantastic. And so I called John. I'm like, hey, do you guys do consulting on that? And yeah. So, we had a nice chat and then talked with his team. And so now over the last couple of years, I've had his team in working with our team on site. They come in a couple times a year, work with our team, train our team. Last week, I was just out with my team. He puts on a big convention out in Cleveland, 700, 800 people with world-class speakers, and we were out there with our team. And so it's had a great impact on our culture, so it's amazing, from reading a book to all of a sudden there's an EO speaker to all the point, that we're doing stuff, in our business. It's been amazing.
When I think about this year and all the people that I've met, just in terms of the speakers, earlier in the year, Amanda Lindhout, who was held captive for 460 days in the Middle East, and you hear those stories, it's hard not to, find that connection with people and say, you know what, you don't have it that bad.
Yeah.
If you've spent 460 days in a Somali captivity, that's pretty bad.
I think that's what's the great part. When you listen to these EO speakers that come in, you never have a chance to see them in your normal daily lives, and those stories you hear, the compelling human stories that you think, they had a different light and showed everybody's just human. I think that's when you think in business, I think like you and I were chatting earlier, you can't share certain things with your friends, but you can share things that you wouldn't even think about dreaming of sharing, maybe even with your spouse, about things that are going on. So it's pretty awesome.
It was funny because the NERV for folks who are not EO people is the East Coast Regional Conference of EO. So everybody up and down the East Coast. And we're talking about Amanda Lindhout, and they had Jim Kelly there because we were in Buffalo this year. And here's a guy, he made some, very talented guy, made some tough life choices that affected his family, and then got sick, had his son get sick and die. But the guy persevered. He got up, he pulled his pants up one leg at a time, as we all do, and worked on doing the right thing, and doing the right thing by himself and by his family. And I'm always impressed by those kind of stories.
Yeah.
Where somebody, because we all screw up.
Right. Yeah. It makes you realize that not everybody looks at other people and they think, geez, they have it easy and success comes easy. But as anybody you meet, you see whether it's in EO directly or through these speakers, there's no straight line to path to success. That's for sure.
Absolutely isn't. It's not that easy.
Not that easy.
It's not.
Some people just make it look easy, but along the way, they're working a lot harder than behind the scenes people think.
And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I look at you and I see here's a guy that's very successful. He's traveling. He's got an incredible business. You're running Ironman. You're doing all these things. What gets Andy Heck out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, I've always been goal obsessed, and so as I've, way back in the day, guys like Tony Robbins, read his books on success and different things. But I think through EO and some of the people I've met and different things, different thought leaders, and I've become even more obsessed with goals and trying to figure out. So I go through a process every year where I set my goals for the year, both in business and personal. And then I just stick to them. I mean, I have them on me at work. I have them in my closet, hanging, and I have a plan every day. Now that, there's some leeway and latitude, obviously, in the day, but I kind of know that basically I'm living the life that I want to live. There's not wasted time. So I kind of know on a daily basis, this is what I want to do. When it comes to family time, when it comes to health, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to work, I have all these, the integration, as I like to say, it's work-life integration, and I have it integrated. And yeah, I work a lot, but I also play a lot, but I don't watch like a lot of TV like some people, and I realized, back in the day, I was at a conference once, and one of my mentors said, they made SportsCenter so you don't have to watch every second of every game. And I'm a sports nut, and I'm like, it just like spoke to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm a diehard Yankees. I was Knicks, Cowboys, and I'm like one of those ones. I wanted to watch every inning of every game, every quarter of every basketball game, and I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. I can't be accomplishing my goals if I'm just watching sports. And I was like a guy, Sunday afternoon, yeah, all right, we're gonna watch, Sunday pregame at noon and watch right to 8 o'clock at night. And so I kind of, and even though I was achieving goals, I kind of got out of that funk and said, I got to start living my life, as a participant, not a spectator. And that became my mantra, to go out there and actually. So yes, I watch sports, watch my teams. I'm an enthusiast for all my teams, but I don't let it control my life anymore.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Last year, I took my daughters out to Las Vegas. We went to the iHeart Radio Festival.
Awesome.
And just had an amazing weekend. It was a great time, and we came back, and 6 days later was that shooting at the same place we were for one of the events that day. I have a picture of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, and there's actually a glare from the sun at the corner where he was shooting from. And at that point, I watched the news a little bit, and I realized it's so negative, it's so down, and was a horrible situation. I'm grateful that we weren't there. But I stopped watching the news after that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't adding anything. As soon as I stopped watching the news, my TV viewing changed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Jets fan, you're a Cowboys fan. I don't even watch the Jets that much anymore. What's going on? I just found different priorities and
no doubt,
and engaging in life. And that, I think, has been one of the greatest rewards from EO, is learning new ways to enjoy life and how to grow, not just as a business person, but as a person.
I remember when I first got into EO, and I went to lunch with one of the early members of EO back in Albany chapter, Greg Moran. And Greg Moran said, the EO way is you work hard and recharge. And I wasn't great on, I would take some time off, but I wasn't great on the recharge part of it. And, my kids were younger at the time, so it's tough. You're trying to raise a family and trying to work. And so I took that to heart and started figuring out, all right, it became gradual. All right, how do I get a long weekend in? How do I do this and that? Now it's like, I'm working and then I'm away. It might be as I call it, runcations. It might be going for a marathon weekend here or there, or an Ironman weekend, or it might be a ski trip, but or it's stuff with family. And I started just building that into my schedule for the whole year. And then it became that I just look at my calendar. I have so many ideas of things I want to do on my bucket list that over the years, that it's like I already have stuff on my calendar. 2019 is pretty much full, so I already have 2020, a bunch of things on my calendar, and 2021, because I'm looking at there's only so much you can do in a year. And some of my friends are trying to convince me of some things for 2019, and I'm like, I don't know if I can fit it in. I'm already kind of full.
Could you have imagined that 15 years ago?
No. 15 years ago, it was like, I remember my wife and I saying, well, we do stuff, but we really don't do much, outside of, leaving the area. Yeah, we'd go to Florida with the kids to my parents on Easter break and get skiing in Vermont or something like that, and maybe I'd go out west for a couple of days, but we didn't really do an awful lot, and that's a lot of people in their 30s and early 40s.
So what's on the bucket list for you? What are the top 3 on the bucket list?
The top 3, well, I want to, it's not major now because it's getting easier, but I wanted, one of my things was I wanted to see every state in America, and I'm down to 2 states now, Alabama and Mississippi. So I got to knock those off at some point.
They're close, so.
They're close. I can do it in one week. I want to visit every continent, maybe Antarctica. So next year my wife and I are going to Australia for our anniversary. That's been on the bucket list or I should say, when you talk about calendars, that's been on our calendar for like 10 years. We said, we got to wait until our kids are out of school, that we can spend some time and go. So we said, let's go for our 30th, so it's been on our calendar. So I'm like, well, we got to make it happen.
Is there something you want to do when you get there? Is there something you want to see?
Well, you'll find it hard to believe, but I found a marathon in New Zealand, so I think I'm going to tie in.
Shocking.
I found my wife's on board, which is good, but I think I'm going to try to tie in a trip to Australia, New Zealand, and do a marathon in the process. And so that's, so a lot of travel goals. My wife loves to travel. I love to travel. I have some ski goals. I want to ski in Switzerland. I want to go helicopter skiing. So those are some things I want to do.
I was just, I'm into Richard Branson's book, Screw Business as Usual. And one of the first things in the first chapter he was talking about, he was trying to set the world record for a kite sail across the English Channel. I'm like, who thinks of this kind of stuff? And he does.
I know.
We want to do that stuff, experience different things. And it becomes more about experiences than.
Yeah, I saw, when you talk about, bucket list things. My dad and I went to a convention when I first got back into our business, and we were at an RV seminar, and Lou Holtz, famous Notre Dame coach, was the guest speaker that day, and he talked about having a bucket list, writing everything down you want to do and just add to it, So and I was probably 26 at the time, 27 maybe, And I took out a sheet of paper. I started writing everything down. I still have the original sheet of paper. I'm 52 now, so 25 years later. And it's amazing how much off that list I have done. Some things change. You think, yeah, that was kind of trivial. That's not really, doesn't really align with your core values. But I took that list then, and, years later, I typed it all up. And anytime I come across somebody and they say something, hey, that'd be cool, I immediately write it on my phone and it goes on my bucket list. Because, you keep thinking different. You keep adding to it. So I have all these things I just keep adding to of things places I want to go, things I want to do, things I want to see, Yeah.
What's your big challenge? We've made it sound like you're living the dream, but you've got to have a challenge.
I think, the challenge, any of us that are in business, the challenge in business is, it's every day you eat what you kill, so to speak. It's being in retail, every day we have to perform for our customers and we have to earn new business. And as you grow and having happy customers, happy employees, and changing that and staying on top of that, and all we have, in the season this year, we got up to about 280 employees. That's a lot of employees.
Gosh.
And everybody, we have great employees. They all have their goals in life, and how do they align with our goals? They all have issues outside of work like we all do. So it's it's kind of always trying to keep that all on top of that. That's the challenge, and especially in a good economy, how do you compete for talent and get the people and be the place that people want to work? So that's something I obsess over, our culture and customer service.
Tell me about the culture here. I know you have the gym, correct? Is that for employees or is that for...
No, we actually, that's one of our entrepreneurial things. We ended up 10 years ago buying the gym that rented from us. And so it's for the community, but we give all of our employees a free membership, encourage them to take the time to work out.
Okay.
But, our culture, we try to have, we live our core values, we try to have fun. We're a family business and we try to act as a family. So in our busy season, our employees have to work very hard, but we also try to give a lot of flexibility and latitude. Being a parent myself, I want to make sure that our employees, they don't miss important events in their kids' lives, whether it's a meeting at school with the teacher or whether it's a sporting event or a concert. And so, we want them to be well balanced inside and outside of work. And then at work, we want to support each other and help them with their goals. So we do a lot of talking about that. What's your goals? Celebrate when people are achieving goals. Both at work and outside of work.
So, what would you say are the core values here?
Ours?
Yeah.
We have 5 core values. Fun is being one of them because we're in a fun business.
You are in a fun business.
We're in a fun business. We have to remember that. Some people think, hey, it's work. But it's but we're selling fun. And if our customers come in and we're not having fun, how do we sell them on fun? When you look at RVs, boats, skis, swimming pools, a fitness center, these are all fun things that people are coming to us for fun. So we try to have fun at work with our customers and with ourselves. Integrity, obviously, because like a lot of, we make decisions. We're in for the long term. We're not in for the short term. So we make tough decisions. Out friendly. That's something, we try to have like the Cheers atmosphere. Remember the TV show that when people come in, that we know the customers' names and we just say, I remember, as we've started and hired new people, if you don't know the product, just be out friendly, be the friendliest person, and do that, so that's one of them. Better, you talk about learning, we're better. We're always saying we're trying to get better as a company, better professionally, better. So we're always pushing learning, and so a lot of what we do a lot of training, throughout the year, every week, a lot of our departments have training every single week, year round. And we send a lot of our employees to offsite training, whether it's leadership training, whether it's conferences. So I'm a big believer. It's not an expense and it's an investment. And flexibility is one. And so I talked about, flexibility with employees, but flexibility is, doing things for customers, so not being so rigid, not having black and white, and gray, being able to do things and solve problems.
Right.
So we talk about those all the time, and certainly we could do a better job of it, but it's something that we keep pushing.
I got to tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time because I know you do fulfill your list every day. And I'm grateful to be part of your list, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about.
No, it's enjoyable, and good luck with this project. I think it's awesome that you're doing this.
Well, it's as we talked about, learning is one of my things, and I love the idea of talking to folks and finding out what makes them go a little bit further, what makes them say, step past the negativity and just the fear, and say, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And you say that every day.
Every day.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Andy,
Thanks,
you are
John.
the man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.